Okay, so now it's 1:30 in the morning, almost, well, 1:41 a.m. in the morning on December 6th. Okay, now what happened was, I lay down and I had a little sleep. I think I've got my body so hardwired to sleep and work, sleep and work, sleep and work. And when I work so much and I need rest, right? You know how you just have to rest. Could be a day, maybe two, or you don't really do very much, right? But other than that, it's sleep and work. Sleep and work. I had my little sleep. I got up, made my coffee, which is a habit that I want to break eventually, but besides that point. And I'm like, in my head, suck it up, Buttercup. You got to clean up the big mess that you made because you're going to make another mess. Right? So I've managed to clean up the mess, and now I'm going to be making another mess because I want to get this stuff done, and more's coming. And I'm like, why are you up at 1:30 in the morning when you woke up at 1:30 in the morning not even 24 hours ago? Like, how is that even possible? Well, yeah, because I went to sleep for a few hours. That was it. And I'm like, well, your body is just hardwired to get up and work, get up and work, get up and work. And this is what I try to, like, how am I going to explain this to my eye doctor? Like, I ended up putting my second eye drops in, the one I have to do 2 times a day, like in at 8 o'clock at night, because I accidentally slept for a little while. So I got up at 7:30 from my little nap. By 8 o'clock, I remembered I hadn't done my eyes. So I've been up since 8, and it's 1:30, and I'm still buzzing around. And then I'll sleep for a couple of more hours at some point. Amari's up. He's making noise. Right? He's got a poo, eh? But he's been doing pretty good in terms of doing that for himself. It just takes a while. Right? And it can get uncomfortable for him. So anyway, I want to get this done. That's my chore for the night, is to get this done so I don't have to worry about this until the new 2 boxes come in. Then I'll worry about it then. Okay? We still have the pork bones with the drumettes stewing. So I'll deal with that tomorrow. Right? We've got one more pumpkin to cut up, cook. What I'll end up doing, long story short, is I'm not going to cook my son's. I'm just going to clean it, cut it, whatever. I'm going to keep the pumpkin seeds, right? And just give him a chunk or 2, and he can do whatever he wants with it. He can freeze it, he can cook it, he can do whatever. And I'll even go as far as give him the pumpkin juice so he can make his pumpkin soup if he wants. If he wants to freeze the juice, make it another day, he probably has a bit of room in his freezer. Or he can make the soup in a day or 2 with the pumpkin that he has. So that alleviates that stress, because I feel I would like to keep the pumpkin juice for myself because I kind of like it in light of what I'm doing, and it actually did taste pretty good, all things said. And but I just don't have the room right now. I took out a few things from the freezer to which the animals outside can have a bit of it, right? And then I got some shrimp that were up there now in the fridge, and I think it's pork fat. It's either pork fat or beef fat. I'm pretty sure it's fat. So I'm going to fry it up tomorrow and see what it does. Otherwise, I was just going to give it to the animals, right? But in the meantime, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind this up. I still have, at this point, one free 1 gallon jar and 3 1.9 jars. So I should have enough jars for what I've got here, but I'm going to have to break down and probably order another 4 or 8 more jars in terms of gallons. 4 for sure. 4 for sure. Right? 4 more as backup. Right? But I'm not going to worry about that till later. So I'm going to grind it up. Now, technically, in order to, I think, to really hone down into the calorie count and the mineral and all this other stuff, it would probably be better. I mean, I'm not saying you can't use cups, half cups, quarter cups, that kind of thing. But I think it would be better to list down the weight of whatever it is that you're doing in order to be able to come to that fine-tuned calculation in terms of the numbers of calories and what's related to those calories when it comes to the minerals and the vitamins, right? But I don't have time for that, people. I'll be lucky just to grind this up tonight, considering the time, measure it into cups. I'm going to mix this one up with coconut sugar because I know the coconut sugar will help to protect the mulberry, right? Because it's a more of a fibrous berry, right? And sugar is a preservative, so it will protect the fiber of the berry long term. Oh, these are so good. I so like them. They're like candy. You know? Oh man. I can't help myself. So I'm figuring 7 cups of mulberry ground it up to 2 cups coconut sugar. I think that's a good ratio. So I'm going to try and get 1 gallon full at that ratio. Technically, I should be weighing the mulberries and weighing the sugar and then calculate my calories around that versus by cups. But not everything in life is a straight road. So I am just gonna, I'm working fast. That's what it is. This is what it is, people. You know, I'm working freaking fast here, okay? I've been working fast. And my body is trained to sleep, get up, and work. Sleep, get up, and work. Sleep, get up, and work. It doesn't matter what time I sleep and what time I get up, as long as I get up and work. And I work until I can't sleep, until I can't work no more, because I'm, you know, I need a little sleep. I need some kind of sleep. The body needs sleep, right? And then every now and then I get those sluggish days where you know, it runs in consecutive 1 to 2, maybe at best 3, where I'm like sluggish and I just want to kind of maybe play catch up on sleep, and that's when I might get an 8 or a 10-hour sleep in there in between a few disruptions. But those are far and few in between. Like, really, they really are. I don't like it when Tisha brings, you know, picks up the kids so that I can work. And it happens to be on that schedule where all I want to do is sleep. So I'm in the house all by myself, just sleeping away, when I should be working because there's no kids around me. But that doesn't happen very often, right? So, I mean, I can't even remember the last time that happened. So anyway, 7 cups of mulberry, grounded up to 2 cups coconut sugar. I'm so excited to get this done. And I'm like, well, what you gonna do tomorrow? Right? You know, you don't want to lose the momentum, right? I don't think I want to dehydrate the cranberries any more than they're already dehydrated, because I've got those ones from Pastor Granny already dehydrated. So I could do that Well, I don't know. I can't because I don't have any more larger jars unless I empty out something. Either or, we'll deal with it tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on with this video, I guess, tomorrow. I just wanted to point out that it's like, now it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to start grinding freaking mulberries. And I'll be here for at least another hour. I'm going to have another coffee. I'm uploading a video about Tiffany, right? It'll be 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning before I lay down again. Do you see how it works? And then I'll sleep for an hour, 2 or 3, however long, right? And then I wake up and I'll just start all over again, people. That's it. I don't know what kind of life I live, but, you know, okay, I don't want to complain about it, so hold on. You see, people like me who do a lot of canning, I don't want to say understand the value of sugar, but basically, right? Because you can say make applesauce, okay? Let's just use applesauce as an example. Now, you don't have to put sugar in when you can applesauce because the pectin, right, in the apple is already the preservative. That's why if you're canning other fruits and you want that pectin, all you have to do is make apple juice. Make your own apple juice, right? Or you could buy apple juice. And you can use that apple juice as an added preservative to what other fruit that you're using to can, right? Okay. Now you can add sugar into your applesauce, and I've done both, right? I find that, and I've said this in the past, the apples from the tree that fall from the tree when Andre and I go collect apples, those are the best apples to do any kind of canning with. They taste the best. They just completely different than what we buy in the grocery store. Trust me. I don't even attempt to use apple peel from the grocery store to make anything in terms of like an apple peel syrup or something like that. Because even no matter how much you wash, by the time you're done cooking it, there's just the apple peel to get the initial liquid to boil it down to make a syrup, to which you'd have to use quote-unquote sugar of some kind, right? It tastes like wax. But if they come from a tree and fell to the ground, oh yeah, those ones you really want to use for that kind of stuff. And when they fall from the tree, chances are you're not going to need any kind of sugar or very little sugar. In other words, you know my pots, right? If I make a pot of applesauce that fell from the tree, I might at best put a half a cup of sugar in it. Maybe a cup. Maybe. I doubt it though. Because that's how sweet they are. Naturally. Whereas if I buy apples from the grocery store and it's almost like it doesn't matter what the type is, except for maybe a Macintosh or something, which I don't go out of my way to buy. But besides that point, and even then, you'd need sugar with them. I have to put anywhere from 2 to 3 cups of sugar in comparison to the same size pot from the apples that fell from the tree. So that's what I mean by people like me who do this stuff regularly for whatever reasons we do it for. And we know I really upped my game when Amari came and with his special needs, right? So, I don't want to lose count of that. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, it really plays an important role in just whatever it is that I do in a day when it comes to having food security in the house. Because if for whatever reason, now I got lots of sugar, trust me, okay? I got a big box full of freaking sugar. If it should just kind of go into shortage in Canada because I know I can't. So I made sure I had sugar as backup just in case, right? But you can also use honey instead of sugar. You can use coconut sugar instead of sugar. You could use maple sugar instead of sugar. I don't know if you can use mulberries, but I wouldn't be surprised in terms of the sugar content in it. So, it's just, I'm just saying, right? So, okay, so now, when I say by weight, some of these pieces are still quite, like this is coarse. This isn't finely ground, you can see. But that's okay though, because when you crunch into it, it's full of flavor, right? So you kind of want to retain that. Preserve it longer than normal if it was in an oxidized open air kind of thing. This is where this comes in. This will help to insulate whatever to help lock in that flavor. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. However, in terms of the actual calorie count per cup, well, each cup is going to be in a variable in terms of weight because of the different size of the granulars. And that's where, I need a little extra room or a little extra time or whatever it is to weigh this stuff to get to that fine-tuned calculation of whatever I'm shooting for here. Because I don't even know what the total calorie count. I mean, their little drinks are coming in at 350 calories. That's a lot of calories in a less than an 8-ounce bottle, right? So you have to ask yourself where they're coming from. How did they get them, and how come you can't? Because when you're working with fruits and vegetables, they're the ones with the lowest calorie count. So it's so complicated in so many ways, But anyway, I just wanted to point whatever I just said and bring it to your attention. Just point it out to you. And another thing you can do with this stuff, mulberry by itself, minus the coconut sugar, right? Not saying that you can't use it, but, maybe you might want to try something else before you... Okay, so, it's so sweet, people. Like, you could make a mulberry juice and combine it with blackberry juice. Because blackberry juice is good. I have, because I've done in the past with Andre. That's what we used to do, right? And so I still have a few jars. I don't know how many jars, but I've got a few of them kicking around the house. And I could see myself taking a jar of blackberry juice that's canned, right? And then this one here is just straight up mulberry. It's just ground it up, okay? See, if you notice, I'm waiting now for the other 26 pounds and I'm just going to carry on. So I'm going to need more jars. I like to preserve this kind of stuff in jars for any length of time just because it just, like I said, I opened up a jar. I don't know what the spice was. It was some spice. When I find it, I'll let you know. It was from 2015. Anyway, I opened it up and oh my God, it smells so good. My son acknowledged that. And it's because it sat in a jar, people. That's why. In a dark, cool place, someplace, in some cupboard. I forgot about it. Okay? That's just the way it goes. So, I know it's expensive, and, it isn't always the priority, right? But if you can do it, for sure, go out of your way while you can. Because, I don't know, like, I kind of resent my government, people, in a lot of ways, of putting on this added burden into the household when it comes to that nagging fear that we're on a depopulation agenda here. We're, what did they say, 90%, 95% of 90% they want gone and off the planet because of whatever. Like, you see, the thing about these individuals, these quote-unquote things that like to body snatch and do really morbid crap, they do everything in the dark. They whisper, they taunt, they tease, they stalk. You know, they use energy weapons to their advantage because they have the technology. They creep, they plot, they scheme, they organize, they put out a false perception of who and what they really are because, you know, I guess they do that, people, because we're smarter than cows. Cows you just herd around and, you know, and feed them and talk to them and, you know, and they trust you. They have no choice. They don't understand anything other than to trust that you'll care for them, being that you're the one that feeds them, right? Where humans are a little more independent and a little more resourceful and a little more rebellious and can stop and think and analyze and, right? God forbid if these things actually came out in the open and portrayed themselves for what they really are in terms of how they look and what they represent and where they came from and why they're even here. Do you honestly think that the general population would accept them for that? No. So that's why they do what they do. That's why they hide out. And they can't exist any other way, and they take pride in that, people. It's like that thief that keeps coming into your house, stealing time after time after time after time, right under your nose. They do it for the control. Well, it's the same thing with these things that are destroying the planet and a large portion of the human population as they do it. Okay? So, with that said, I do believe that over the next 10 years, I'll give it 10 years, whatever path we were on before in terms of world vision, gonna go save the kids in all these developing countries that are starving and da-da-da-da, that's all gone off to the wayside. You don't ever hear about that anymore. All you hear on the news or anyone really reporting on anything is basically people are starving. Oh well, there's nothing we can do about it. You don't hear about no missionaries and like charitable organizations going in and, I don't want to say save the day, but at least making an effort to curb starvation. It's not like that anymore. Now it's like making excuses and normalizing it and trivializing it and, right? Oh, well, Ukraine doesn't have wheat and, and so-and-so doesn't have wheat, and now the Netherlands and the Dutch farmers are getting 3,000 farms shut down with cattle and blah, and, they're bringing in billions of bugs to put into the food system and blah, and, and will some of those bugs go to some developing country to feed people who are actually starving? No, because they're too busy trying to promote those bugs on us, right? As they convince us that there's nothing that they can do to feed those other people because there's just too many people on the planet. That's all being operated and run by things, people. I'm 60 years old, okay? I've seen a lot of shitty shit that comes from a lot of shitty things that are basically cowards. Literally, cowards. But it's their nature. They can't help themselves. You see, that's the problem. It's in their DNA to be that way. A lizard is a lizard is a lizard. You can't change a freaking lizard unless you take it to a lab, splice out some DNA, and then put it someplace else to create something new. Otherwise, it's just a freaking lizard. Okay? I'm just using that as an example. So, I resent my government for how can I say it? See, I told you I'm making my coffee. What time is it? It's 2:45 in the morning. What the hell am I up at 3:45 in the morning having coffee? Because I'm winding down now. I'm winding down so that maybe in an hour or two I can lay down and sleep for an hour or two and then get up and start all over again with the pumpkin and the stalk. I resent my government for putting all this pressure on me to prevent my family from starving, knowing what I know in terms of what's going on the global playing field when it comes to supply chain disruptions, more than one, just to disrupt civilization as a whole, so that some dark, deep, decrepit agenda can be played out, while the ones that are doing it behind your back but smiling in your face as they do it, okay, lie to us. I mean, it's bad enough that they come in and steal your kids, you know, arrange murder for hire so the body snatchers can come in and do what the body snatchers do. All right. Anyway. Okay, so the jars are piling up. I'm going to have to order some more. But I don't have the money right now because I went off and I bought the raisins and I forgot. I bought a box of, I don't know how many pounds, a box of dates as well. But the dates were a good price. Like, I was actually surprised. And the raisins, I think I'm going to be impressed with when they come. And then I got the extra, the 26 pounds of mulberries, just because I really do feel like I'm getting my value for my money here, and I'm so impressed with it. And then I got an extra 25 pounds of mung beans, because those you can sprout, people, right? As the vegetables are disappearing or coming in at their due date and rotting on the, you know, in the grocery store. Maybe they're not spraying them with preservatives anymore. Who knows? But you're hearing about it all across the freaking continent, right? Hold on. What are you doing? I hear you making noise. Huh? Did you poo yet? Did you poo yet? Huh? What you doing? Yeah, you do that Houdini, baby. Like I said, I don't know whose schedule is on whose schedule. I don't know if Mari's on my schedule or if I'm on Amari's schedule. But what the heck is Amari doing up at 3 o'clock in the morning? It's because he was sleeping when I was sleeping. That's why. We both fell asleep. So anyway, I'm going to have to order more jars. And I am definitely going to get another 5 pounds of this because, as you can see, I'm going through it very quickly. Right? Because I'm kind of using it right now as a preserving agent because the mulberry is fibrous, and just how I know how food works in a jar for any length of time, you know, I could see the fiber kind of deteriorating. Not the sugar, but definitely the fiber. We're adding in that, in my opinion, that little extra coconut sugar, just because it's almost like it sucked it up, right? Right? It absorbed it. I kind of feel like the the mulberry absorbed the brown sugar. Anyway, it just packs. It will retain the freshness within the fiber itself, right? I know that for a fact. Okay, in my opinion. But yeah, no, people. You know what? If the government wasn't doing what the government's been doing for the last couple of years, knowing what I know and what my opinions are, which will be a BitChute exclusive on it soon enough. Let me take care of these cupboards first, right? Oh, you know, I wouldn't have gone to the extreme. And then even then, to what end? You know, to what end? Because if in 10 years from now, we're not just hearing about developing, countries with people starving in them, but we're now hearing the Western countries with, and I'm talking starving, okay? Literally starving, where they start eating their animals because they're so freaking hungry. And it's interesting how, you can't get cat food in a lot of places, and, definitely no canned cat food for people that like to give their cats canned food. Dog food is like becoming on low supply, right? In some areas within that food desert that's being created through politics. And, what do you call it? What's going to happen when people can't feed their animals? Because there's just nothing to feed them with. Do you think that whoever is instigating those things, are going to stop with the animals? No, they're going to carry it on with the humans. So, for all this conspiracy theory, I guess you could say, in terms of our politicians trying to remove a large portion of the population by any means necessary because they've made some pact with something that, goes back who knows how long, but yet is a coward and can't face us intelligent cattle eye to eye, right? Okay? And I'm thinking about those dirty cops, right? You know that, right? Like, don't come to me and talk to me about you being a cop. Do you think I honestly care? Because I've seen people what some of those individuals really are. Okay? And as far as I'm concerned, for all their what is that, bravado, right? For all their bravado, they're cowards. Okay? They're cowards, and they're an instrument of death. I seen that with Sierra. An instrument of death. That's why they don't stand up against the carnage that's going on in society right now. Because they're just connected to a legion that is corrupt. And I want to say evil. Yeah. But lack any real backbone. Right? Because the only reason they can get away with the things that they get away with is because they lie their way through it. That's why. And they hide and they sneak and they connive. And they plot and scheme and they use other people to do their dirty work for them if they're not doing it for themselves. Right? So, in 10 years from now, no matter what I've done, because I got to get off this bandwagon soon, right? Like, there's other things in life I want to do before I die, to which could happen at any moment. I think we just seen that with Tiffany Draper, okay? It's that simple, right? Poof, you're gone. Nothing moves except you, okay? And, I would like to think that my remaining family members, my grandchildren, my children, whoever, will be able to go and buy food without being harassed or told that they can't have it because whatever or whatever or whatever, you know? Or that they're not starving people because they don't fall within that elite class of things. Literally. I mean, everything I'm doing could be pointless in 10 years from now if we stay on the path that we're on. And right now, it seems that that's what's happening. Because people are like sheep. Yeah. Or cattle. On a rudimentary sense. And they'll just allow it to happen. And then when they realize it's happening, it will be too late. And they will die, and their lives will mean nothing. I think I already put milk in there. And their lives will mean nothing. And millions and billions will probably starve. If something doesn't change in the next year or two, right? Then yeah, we're going to start seeing and hearing of people starving. Which is completely unnecessary. Because if you remember, before this all started, at least people had a little sense of a future. That future has been completely wiped out. Okay. So don't think I don't question, is this even worth it in the great grand scheme of my government and their employees are trying to starve out my family until we're all gone. Because they're not satisfied with one. They're not satisfied with two. They're not satisfied with three. People will learn this, and they'll learn it soon enough. And they're not satisfied with half a family. They're going to go in and wipe out the whole family. And they're going to go from house to house to house over a period of years to wipe out those families. One by one, little by little, surely by surely, as they come up and they smile up in your face and tell you that they're just trying to help you. When in fact, they're cowards. And liars. And thieves. And tricksters. That should all be demoted. Yep. They should all be demoted. But, you know, you'd have to prove it. And the only way that you could prove what they are is doing something drastic yourself. And like I said, most people don't wish ill on others. And these things, they know it. And that's why nothing stops them. Anyway. So let me check my stock here, and then I'm ending this video for now, and I'll pick up with it tomorrow. Because I am starting to feel tired. But I don't want to toss and turn on anything here. So I'll probably be up for a little while longer yet. That's my eyes, you know, boogie woogie with the lights. I didn't put anything in here in terms of, I wanted to put a carrot, onion, celery, just to give it that little extra flavor. I probably could. Let me taste it first. No. Oh my God. So good. It's still a little mild, but I can taste the salt. I can taste the pork, and the pork more so than the chicken. But we know that, well, I can taste the meat of the chicken and the bone of the chicken, if that makes any sense, because there's more meat with the chicken and there's more bone with the pork. Put the two together and it's starting to come out really rich. Yeah, you see, I just wanted a straight up broth from animals. I didn't want onion and none of that. I just want it, and so far it's coming up good. So if I leave it for another, well, we'll just see how it goes by tomorrow night. We'll see. It's either I can it up tomorrow night or I'll can it up the next day. And that will be good. And then when I do the turkey, I'm thinking of making a really rich, deep turkey broth. And then I'll decide what I'm going to do with the turkey after the fact. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is I'll probably end up boiling the whole freaking turkey just to get some good turkey broth. Yeah. Okay, so now you know why I am up. Okay, so I found a part that works. I would say that works. Okay, I think this thing fits this machine. Oh, although it works, seems to work on the other machine, but I think it's more for this machine because you can tell by the color, right? So, okay, so we're gonna go with this one. So she's got the beater, bread beater, and a little food processor. That's not bad. This is what and it's, you know, these older machines, I really like them, people. They last forever, you know, like they're so well made. Anyway. Okay, so now it is, oh jeez. Oh boy. December 8th of 2022. I'm making myself another coffee for this, okay? So I'm going to have to turn this off when my water starts to boil, but I just want to get on with it. The title of this video, I think, is going to be First the Rant, because whatever you've seen before you get to this point, we'll just classify it as a rant from a raving lunatic that's clearly out of touch with reality in terms of living in a conspiracy where aliens are running around trying to kill us. I'm just saying, okay. Whether you want to believe that or not, you know, everyone is entitled to their opinion. Right? Okay? I tend to lean towards that direction. It's almost like, you know, children are being born. That's cats. It's almost like children are being born to be murdered. Or we as human beings, you know, we come into the world and we're slotted to be murdered, because that's how cynical I am about the world as it is in the state that it is now. Because of those things that are cowards and lurk. Okay, let's not dwell on that. Just saying. Alright, what I want to do though, and then the other part of the title, because you know, it's hard to talk sometimes. And you have to remember too, you know, a lot of these YouTubers, You know, they cruise other people's channels just to get little catchy phrases, you know, a new idea, just, right? So that they can incorporate it into their, to make it sound like, you know, they're somehow intelligent, that they came up with something, some new catchphrase or whatever it is. Like 10 toes down, right? Well, if you got 10 toes down, you might as well keep them on the ground, right? Unless, of course, you want to be a little twinkle toes, and, you know, you could be a twinkle toes, and, right? I'd rather have my feet down on the ground and be grounded to the earth. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so besides that point, right? Like, you know, I'm struggling with my self-esteem here, people. That's just a YouTube experience for me, because we know how YouTube disenfranchises the poorest of the poor, unless, of course, they can completely control us 100%, right, as their bitch. And even then, they'll exploit us, okay? And we know that at any moment, right, I can get a strike. Okay, so anyway, besides that point, let's just stay focused here. It's too early in the morning, that's why. And my hours have changed. Wait till I see this eye doctor. Well, at first I was putting my eye drops at 5 in the morning and 5 at night. And then I don't know, you know, woke up at 1:30. I didn't get to sleep until 3 o'clock the next day. So I was up for like 27 hours, right? You know what I'm saying? I had just a small little nap, but it was enough to throw me off my cycle. And now I'm getting up at 6:37. So what happened to 5? So I'm putting drops in at 8 now, thinking, oh, but what happened was I missed a complete day of everything. As I'm putting drops in and everything's going more and more blurry. I'm like, whatever. So, okay. So, title of this video is, first the rant, / then / stand on demand. Stand on demand. Okay? And I was having a discussion with Peggy, right? Lady P, through chat, which YouTube censored out and hid it. And I told her, you know, like, for me, the foundation represents action. Right? Right? I spoke to Malcolm X's sister, and she brought in the action. Right? Give you support. The young people need direction. Right? The more people stepping up to the plate with action, the better chance young people have. God bless you for reaching out. Because I reached out to her, and we talked on the phone for several years before she died. And she gave me moral support with the foundation. Okay. So there's that action, right? And I've been acting on it for 22 years. All right. So, you know, this is what I'm expressing to Lady P. Like, because she wanted me to take down that video with the American black woman, you know, the squawk, squawk, squawks, you know, whatever. Okay. And I said, no, you know, barriers need to be broken. And you need to stop taking it so personal. You know, like, it's not about you, right? I wasn't talking about you, right? You know, don't let it affect your self-esteem. Obviously, you didn't listen to the whole video, because if you would have listened to the whole video, at the end of the day, I propped up the 40 million African Americans, black people, however they want to label themselves, because I'm not the one that labels them. They label themselves, and, you know, they conquer and divide between themselves. They nitpick and, you know, fight between themselves. But that's, so does every other ethnic group. So either or, black people, 40 million strong, standing on demand, could make a huge, huge difference in the United States of America. That's what I'm talking about when I say action. And because it's in their DNA, and I've go into my videos, anytime I ever talk about this kind of stuff, I always give credit where credit is due, you know, and I do make acknowledgement to the fact that back in the day, you know, through the civil rights movement and all this other stuff that was going on and just whatnot, and, you know, just whatnot, right, you know, the American black people, you know, they had it together, people. They came together and did what needed to be done. And not only that, but they survived slavery and, you know, just the whole 9 yards. So, you know, they have it in their DNA to be survivors. And the way the world is going right now is you know, it's some of it's going to boil down to the strongest of the fittest. I think I hear my water boiling. Okay, I'm not going to rush with this video because this is actually very important. Stand on demand. I'll give you a little hint right now, okay? So we get to the gist, because it might keep it short. Maybe I'll talk a bit more about it. I don't know. I just know that I want to put it out there, okay? So when I was expressing to Lady P, stand on demand for that action. So if the call is put out, right? You put the call out. We need action. We need the people to stand right now, immediately, on demand, okay? So that we can get the result of action. Just don't talk about it. Just do it, right? Well, honestly, people, I think of Tiffany Draper. Something's not sitting well with me on this. Now, it could just be me. But, you know, I've gone back into some of her older videos, right? I mean, she was well aware that lots of people in her area were dying, unusually dying too soon and in multiples. Clearly it disturbed her. She herself didn't want to die. She stated it on one of her video titles because of her health issues and whatnot. And you have to remember, she's going into a healthcare system that is bias, prejudice, we know, right? Just by what's been happening out here with the healthcare system. I'm not saying she never got good health care, people, but, you know, when malpractice occurs, these healthcare employees are never held to account. Okay? I think that's what my videos have proven. All right? Because our government are corrupt. And a lot of the employees within the government are corrupt. So, there's a lot of variables in there where Tiffany was at risk. At risk to be falling through the cracks. Come into contact with negligence, come into contact with medical negligence. Or, you know, because she was so outspoken about certain things over a period of years in terms of that justice, looking for truth, right? You know, maybe something snagged in and was lurking. That stalker that never seems to go away. We know. I have one too. And because our policing agencies don't nip crime, murder, and those kind of things in the bud, the ones that murder know that they can get away with it, and they do it. Okay, I'm just saying. So, I mean, it could be simple. She went to bed and fell asleep and died in her sleep because of a complication to her diabetes. I could see the cops coming back and saying that. when in fact it might be something a little more nefarious than that. You see, that's the thing. And as time goes by, the more time that the family has to think about it, the more the truth will come to light. Okay? It's gonna come to them. Right? The pieces, the puzzle pieces, little by little, are gonna start to come together and form a picture. Hold on a minute. Okay, so the more time goes by, more puzzle pieces are put together. Okay? If it's cut and dry, it's cut and dry, people. But if it's not, this is where this stand and demand comes into play. In terms of, if I had it my way, as a friend to Tamika, to Tiffany, I don't have no friend in Tamika. Okay? Let's get the record straight. But as a friend to Tiffany, in light of everything that's happened to my family, and how Tiffany came into the fray of it, and in light of what I've been working on all these years, if Tiffany needed justice, well, the best way to get the justice, people, I'm telling you, I know, is for 2,000 people. That's just a drop in the bucket. Okay? This is where you're going to stand on demand. If her family puts the call out saying something is up, there's some shenanigans going on, we don't agree with what we're being told, we think it's more complicated than that, we think people are trying to cover something up, blah, 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 we need help. Well, I'm here to say, this is where people need to stand on demand and cough up $50 so the family can go off and get themselves some lawyer and take it to a whole new level and hold who needs to be held. I don't care if it's the medical system, I don't care if it's the coroner's office, I don't care if it's their local police department, I don't care who it is. But they need the government, they need to be held to account. And the only way the family's going to be able to do that is to have a lawyer or more representing their concerns. Okay? So when I say stand on demand, if that call gets put out there, that the family needs help for justice for Tiffany, then be prepared to at least contribute $50. Once we get to 2,000 people, I think that calculates out to $100,000, people. Again, a drop in the bucket, but enough to get it in motion. Enough to keep it in the court. Enough to get that much closer to justice. Because if we don't stand up to the plate, stand on demand, 2,000 strong, in show of support for the family to get justice for an individual who deserves it, then those things that are running around doing what the fuck they're doing all across the continent won't stop. You see, that's the thing. Because nothing stops them. Go into my videos. Nothing stops them. Nothing stops them. Nothing stops them. Because they tend to go after the more vulnerable, who can't afford to fight back. And I highly doubt Tiffany had too many assets for her family to draw on in order to be able to fight back. And that's assuming that they weren't stolen by some other entity, government entity, like Uncle John. His assets were stolen. Right? Locked away like a dirty secret. Put on a death warrant. Right? And then he died. and then they took the dirt and swept it underneath the rug. No justice, because nobody stood on demand for him, people. Okay? And the government knows it. And that's why they just dicker around in their MS Teams Zooms, falsifying fucking records as they ignore the evidence that's right up in their face. So, if the family is concerned that there's shenanigans going on and they're not getting the whole truth and nothing but the truth from the so-called professionals around them, because it's a lot of mind effery and loosh harvesting, okay, then yeah, be prepared to stand on demand for the ones that are justice warriors, okay, right? Those soldiers that fight for prosperity for all and not just for some, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what I want to say. I'm not even going to drag it out, people, because, you know, my hands are, oh yes, there is one other thing I do want to say. My hands are tied here in Canada. You know, I'm listening to other people talking about, well, you know, if the family doesn't ever want to say why, you know, Tiffany died, blah, 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 that's their business, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I hope the heck my family doesn't do that when I die. When I die, I want people to know what happened to me, whether good or whether bad. And if I need people to stand up on demand for justice for me, I'm hoping that they'll do that. Although, you know, it goes back to that self-esteem with the shadow banning of YouTube, and, you know, well, I don't fit the crowd, or, you know, I'm not the right color, or I don't speak the right way, or, you know, I don't have the, you know, the picket fence with the poodle and the perfect husband, and, or whatever it is, right, you know. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't leave anybody that watches my videos for whatever reason outside of maybe Tamika, Julian's sister. I don't give a shit about her. But as for everybody else that watch and say that they like him and they learn things and just whatever, or they care about my kids, my kids, my grandkids, you know, my dead kids, care about Uncle John, whatever, you know, I myself wouldn't want them to be hanging. You know, I hope my kids can come back and say, oh yeah, Mom died in her sleep peacefully. No, she wasn't jabbed. It was just getting old. Right? Right? I mean, who wouldn't want a death like that? But in this day and age, hell, no. We got a lot of murderers running around, people. And the cops ain't doing shit about it because the cops themselves are freaking body snatchers, trafficking bodies, okay? They're trafficking bodies, so the more bodies they can traffic, the more money that they get, or the more brownie points that they get with their freaking legion. Because a lot of these individuals, I don't know, there's something wrong with them, okay? And then I was thinking about Martin Luther King. I think it was Martin Luther King, who said, don't judge a man by his color, judge a man by his character. Well, it's the same thing with those dirty cops. Don't judge cops with their uniforms and think that they're somehow superior and honorable and trustworthy and all these, you know, in terms of their ethical, right? Just because they wear a uniform or they have a badge or they're signed up to some legion over there that gets funded by the public, okay? Just because they have a uniform, the color of the uniform doesn't determine their character. Okay? Well, that's what I'm trying to say. You can't trust them. They have to prove themselves before you can trust them. Maybe back in the day, we could trust them, but we can't trust them anymore. They can't even stand up against a corrupt government, from government to government, as people are dropping dead around them like flies for whatever freaking reason, as they're falsifying their records to cover up the smut and the dirt and the whatever it is that's going on, that's killing off these people. And then they're running off with the freaking bodies. Okay, I seen it with my daughter Shemaine. I seen it with Sierra. Okay? They did nothing to help Andre, right? And they sure in the hell didn't care about Uncle John. All right? So do you honestly think they're going to care about Tiffany Draper? No. So if it comes out over the next 6 months, because all those pieces to that puzzle, it's going to take a while. It took me 6 months to finally get and even then, new information comes in. I didn't get those pictures of Shimei until after 6 months she was dead. And once I got those pictures, boy oh boy, it put a whole new spin on things, didn't it, people? There was a reason why the hospital staff didn't want pictures being taken. Because they were covering up what they were doing. That's why they didn't want it documented. And even when it's in front of a judge's face, he's sitting there saying pictures don't count. Yeah, wait, motherfucker. I'll come back with more. You watch and see. But as that, thinking like that, what's happening? I'm going blind because they don't want you to see, people. Okay? Like I said, time is their weapon. And time is their weapon. Time is their weapon. And this is why if the call gets put out, I don't care when that call comes, stand on demand. 2,000 strong, $50 each. That's $100,000 to help the family get a lawyer if they ever need one. Okay? That's the best that I can do for Tiffany, for what she's done for me. Okay? In terms of standing by her. Alright? We don't abandon justice warriors. Everybody has their own style. Some are seasoned at it, some are newbies at it. Doesn't matter. If it's in you, it's in you. Don't let the naysayers conquer and divide. Come back freaking stronger. Stand on demand. Okay? And you can take that principle, that very, very, very same principle, and I'm going to leave it on this note, people, because the sign of the times is a lot of people are going to start coming into dire times with lack of food. Okay? I don't want to say it. I don't want to believe it. But I really do think it's going to get rough. So, the same principle, stand on demand. I don't know who's going to do it. Foundation for me is going off on the wayside. But, you know, it's an idea. It's a concept that somebody can pick up in the United States, and I'm sure they will. They'll just tweak the title and call it something else. But in a situation of, well, if 2,000 people with their local church, we'll just say we'll just say, because, you know, you need a hub. Right? You need a hub. So we'll just say this little local church can see what's going on in the community. And it's getting pretty dire out there in terms of the food desert. Right? Well, they could do a campaign for that area. They can figure out what the area is. And if 2,000 people put in $50, I'm pretty sure it calculates to $100,000. So within a week, everybody coughing up their $50, that organization, whatever that organization is, it doesn't matter as long as they're honest and true and trustworthy, can go off and buy $100,000 worth of food, people, in bulk. Somehow, some way. And if they can't buy it, they're going to have to find a way to freaking grow it themselves. And if the government denies them the right to grow food for themselves, well, that's where they need to stand on demand again and push back and fight for their rights. Okay? Because that's what justice warriors do. They fight for human rights, right? They fight for justice. They fight for prosperity for all. Not just one or two or some or just a select color group. They fight for everybody that's in society. So that stand on demand concept initially was for people to come together and be able to sustain themselves on a community level somehow, some way, or something. And then it kind of drifted off to, well, if Tiffany's family puts out that call, you know, just put it in the back of your head. $50 is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. Right. But when 2,000 give $50, it empowers that family to get justice. And it disables the government with their time as a weapon. Because now they're dealing with professionals in terms of they're dealing with lawyers instead of just the victims. Right? See, anytime I do anything in court, I come in as the victim. And then they victimize my family, my loved ones who are dead and gone, and myself over and over and over again. They continue to victimize us, people. But if a lawyer comes in, it's a little harder. So that time as like weapon, being used as a weapon, you know, they're derailed. Because sooner or later, they're going to have to answer as to what's being put in front of them. And then, I guess, if it's all cut and dry and simple, and it was an honest mistake, not that there's any kind of honest mistake when it results to death, like for Amari, for example, right? Look what happened to Amari. Amari has his first seizure, right? I get CPS called on me. I still, to this day, don't know why. Although I did receive something in the mail saying that the file was closed and that if I wanted to know, I could contact them and, you know, send a form in to get the reason why. Like, what is that, people? Like, seriously, why should I be having to put an application in to find out why I had to even go through all that shit, right? I mean, if you're going to accuse something of somebody, right, you'd think they would come and tell me what they're accusing me of, okay? Anyway, get to the hospital. You know, they kept Amari sedated, people. They kept him sedated. I'm thinking about it. And they kept him sedated a little longer than they probably needed to, right? Because, you know, they were just playing the game. They were playing the game, and then they gave him this medication and that medication, and, you know, and da-da-da-da. And then towards the end, you know, after they worked it out with CPS and all this other shit, right? That's when they started to lower the medication on Amari. And that nurse, I have it on video, she did something where Amari's hand all swelled up, right? And I'm looking in, and he's like, right? And it's like twice the size. Like, what the hell? What if I wouldn't have noticed that, people? What if he would have had a reaction to that and died right in front of me on a hospital bed because of what that nurse did as a mistake? Because I called the nurse in. I'm just saying, right? I called the nurse, you know, pushed the button or whatever it was. Nurse came in. That. She said, that happens sometimes. I'm okay. It happens sometimes. I put the video up online, and then one of my subscribers or somebody who's seen the video said, no, she's lying. It doesn't happen sometimes. The reason it happened is because when she did something with the IV that was maybe too fast or whatever, and that was the result of her mistake. Okay, what am I supposed to do? Right? You could write 1 million complaints, it won't mean anything. And if he died, they would have just falsified his fucking records and found a way to accuse me of it, people, so that they wouldn't be held to account as they're harvesting his organs behind my back. Okay? We're not out of the woods yet, people. Those are the reality of the sign of the times. So, that's why I worry for Tiffany, because I know how corrupt the healthcare system is, first of all. And she's already stated in her videos that lots and lots of people are dying in freaking Texas and wherever. And even one of those nurses that were in her videos while she was at the hospital was going on about lots of people coming in, problems with diabetes and this and that and blah, blah, blah. You think each and every person that goes to the hospital in the United States of America with diabetes is being treated fairly each and every time they go? It's a hit and miss. You don't know what you're going to get. Okay? That's why I'm kind of adamant about what I'm saying here. And, you know, like, if it was me who died, I'm going to tell my kids, you make sure you let people know what happened, right? And you follow up on it, right? But you see, here's the thing about my kids. My kids will believe the old okie dokie only because they've already been broken so many times with Andre being illegally apprehended. That broke their spirit, right? What happened to Sierra when they kicked her out, and that broke their spirit. It wore away. The cortisol, right? And then Uncle John, that wore away their spirit, right? And then Shemaine, that was almost like the clincher until such time Sierra actually died. So if I die, people, when it comes, well, it's not if, it's when my time comes, if there's any kind of shenanigans or something that's like suspicious, you know, my kids, they're not gonna fight for me like I've fought for everybody around me that's died, right? You know, they're not, because they're broken. The parts of their brain have been broken. They don't have the stamina. They know they won't get the support. They know they won't get the community support. They know that they won't get the lawyer because we're victimized. The government will make sure that happens one way or another so that the government can continue with that generational victimization of the family and then blame the family for it, people. I don't want to see that happen for Tiffany if she should need justice. I just don't. We have to break the cycle. And not only do we have to break the cycle there, but we got to find a way for people to come together, 2,000 strong at $50 a pop, so they can generate almost instantly $100,000 to be able to feed themselves as that collective group. Otherwise, I don't know, people, there's going to be death and misery, you know, the clashing of the teeth. And I think I said in the beginning of this video, you know, for everything that I've done or am still doing, to what end? As if it's going to save my family in 10 years from now, after it's all eaten up and I'm dead and gone. Like, what's the point, right? You know, where, like, it's, you know, the government is putting on too much stress on normal families to try and save ourselves from death because of what our governments and their employees are basically doing and their partner groups in crime. Okay. It's a lot of stress. Okay, it's unnecessary stress. Especially when you know that sooner or later, whatever you've bought and invested and did whatever, it's going to run out. You can only replenish so much for so long. Because there's only so much that you can do, right? And why should you always have to be living on the edge thinking that you have to stockpile anything. I mean, yeah, it's within reason, natural disaster, and, come together as a community and we brave through the natural disaster. But when it's man-made, it's a different kind of game, right? And, this is another reason why people need to think about standing on demand, right? If the government is out to get us and, deplete us of all resources and bankrupt us and, and harvest us and basically do the things that they've been doing, right? Then we need to find a way to stand on demand and protect ourselves, right? Put the brakes on it. So, will people listen? Obviously not. They'll be running around like chickens without a head on, plotting and scheming, working with the police who they can murder next. Well, that's the reality of it, people. And the cops will let them walk. Yeah, those dirty cops will let them walk. Because the cops are the handlers. Okay, I seen it. It's plain as day. So when you look at a cop with his suit, don't judge a man by his color. Judge him by his character. Okay, and right now, I don't know. Their characters should be questioned. Yeah, because they're not doing a good job in protecting society. They don't protect us like they're supposed to. Okay, they work for a legion. They're a legion. There's something that was conjured up. So this is where you need to stand on demand and push back and fight for justice. And if Tiffany Draper needs justice, then be prepared to stand on demand. Yeah. If I could go down anywhere, I don't care if it's in Canada, United States, try and get those 2,000 to put in. If I could get 2,000 Punjabis to put in $50, get $100,000 for the Canadian people in British Columbia, Canada, so that we could have some wholesome food on demand, that would be great. But that's not how the Punjabis operate. Okay? And white people, a lot of them, with any money that is, are too busy in cahoots with Eleanor Gildings, plotting and scheming how to go steal more people's money. Yeah. So they can run around and be the supremists that they are. And don't stand for nothing. But yet work in our healthcare system, people. I really do hope it's very simple in terms of how Tiffany died. As cut and dry as it could possibly be. For her sake. For her family's sake. See, they're just coming into the game. So it's hard to say when those spidey senses start to go like this, how they'll react to it. So we'll give it some time, right? It took me a while to figure out what happened to Shemaine. Sierra was pretty much black and white. It's all on camera. Right? I know what happened to Sierra. Okay? I got that shit documented. She was in a snuff movie, people. Trust me. And that was orchestrated by those uniforms. That's why I say don't judge the uniform. Okay?